Hello agents, this is Kevin Lauren. I'm the Director of Training and Marketing. And today we're going to be going over the perfect marketing mix for your listings. So this should be a really good overview for most of you. Some of you, it might be a really good a webinar to take some notes and to find out what some of these other high-powered agents are doing to get their listings sold. So before we go far, we are going to bring Bill Seitz from Clearview Mortgage on the line. Good morning, Bill. How are you doing today, buddy?
I am doing good. How you doing, Kev?
Doing great.
Awesome. Well, our economic / mortgage superstar Cameron is out with he's come down sick this morning, or he's actually, we were talking last night and he wasn't feeling well, but I think it's it's hit him a little harder this morning. So I'm going to fill in for Cameron and just run over the interest rates and kind of the the financing update, and then I'm also want to run over some key points about shifting markets and transitioning into this new marketplace that we're entering. It's kind of clearly happening, and so we'll review a few key points about that.
And Bill, do you need to share your screen with us at all? Or
I do not, but I would like you to pull up our 10-year treasury, take a peek at that. I don't know if everyone heard, but last week the Fed did end up raising rates by 3/4 of a point, or 75 basis points. And so, we've come off the top of the peak of interest rates, but we're still at record highs. I mean, rates have never increased at this speed than they have ever in historical data. So you can see how quickly we've kind of climbed up from last year. I mean, the trajectory is just, it's really steep, and I think the market is really reacting now to that. I just know from dealing with buyers and dealing with financing for kind of the traditional loans that we do, the government and conventional loans. I'm starting to see people not be able to qualify. Now they're getting priced out. And so, what that means is we're entering in to a adjustment period. And I think that most of you that are out there in the marketplace, with buyers or sellers, are starting to see that. The properties are starting to sit a little longer. Multiple offers may or may not be coming in. If they are, it's not 10 offers anymore. Maybe it's 2 or 3. Certainly the price point dictates a little bit of that, and also the actual area that you are working. But on the broader piece, the overall data is indicating that. And I think it's a really good time to start preparing yourself and start adjusting how we do our business, because you might not get the offer that your seller's hoping for. You may not be able to get that new benchmark price point. And one of the challenges is with this transitioning market is you have unrealistic sellers. And unless you have a very knowledgeable seller that understands what's happening and has their pulse on the changes, they're probably going to be thinking that they're going to be getting 10 offers, record price point for the neighborhood, et cetera. But I think as we move in through deeper into summer, we're going to have, we're going to be shifting even further into days on market are going to go up, right? We're going to have, it's not going to sell in 3 days. It's not going to be just put into the MLS and you're going to be, in escrow the following day. You might be doing open houses for weeks. You might have to get creative. I know Kevin's going to touch on some of those marketing points a little further, but
we may have lost your audio, Bill. Or we may have lost you altogether. Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Now you're back.
Oh no. Where did I cut out? I'm sorry.
About 10 seconds ago.
So, my first point is, tell that I think, it's a good time to reach out now and share some of this data. Mortgage applications, and that's a massive.
Yeah, Bill, your audio is kind of in and out, unfortunately.
Shit.
We're losing it. We're losing it.
That's a bummer. Do you want to just roll into your piece, Kevin? I'll try to get to a better spot here.
Yeah, totally. And said, one quick question. Albert Sufi asked, is this now a shift to the buyer's market?
100%.
Yeah. So Albert, you're hitting the nail on the head. It's definitely literally just pivoted. Over the last several weeks, we really have seen that shift. And so you're right. No longer are we in that, beautiful seller's market where you're just getting, $100,000 over what you're asking, So that's exactly what's happening, Albert. Thank you. So yeah, as Bill was saying, this entire market is shifting. It's starting to do a pivot. And so what we need to do as realtors is this is where we got to shine. So we have to get back into the habit of doing all those little things that, we maybe didn't have to do over the last couple of months, over the last couple of years, especially over the last couple of years, really. So what let me shift gears to our presentation here. So I'm going to share my other screen with you guys. One sec. So when we have a marketing, or when we have a listing now, there are basically what I feel are the most important ingredients to creating that marketing mix for a listing. So where it all begins is photography. So, and I mean, even if you have a fairly, dilapidated property, and we've all seen them, you still need photography. You still need to bring out something that sets the stage for all the marketing that you do. This is the collateral. So without the collateral, you can't really do any of the other things that we're going to talk about. So photography is absolutely paramount. So you're having a professional photographer, and you even may want to have somebody come in and do that. Hopefully it's the same photographer, do a little bit of drone footage. I don't know about you guys, but drone footage just doesn't get old. And it really, for me, it shows me exactly what that house is like or that property is like. And of course you can kind of see the surrounding areas. Plus, if the drone pilot knows what they're doing, they can get some really cool indoor footage as well, which is stunning. We've all seen it. It looks awesome, and it's not very hard to do. So really important to do that very first step, which is pay for the photography. You just got to do it. And we're not doing this just to sell this home. We're also doing this to sell the additional homes that we get down the line. So, every single listing that we get is an opportunity to get more listings. It's like, our time to get out there and be out in the community. So we're going to get a lot of exposure every time we get the opportunity to have a listing and to put all this information out into the community. Okay. So once we have that photography, we have stunning photography, hopefully some video clips, then we go to create our single property website, which is, I think, the next most important piece in the listing marketing mix. So and I'll get into all these in a second, and we'll show examples of these in a second. Flyers and postcards, super important. Again, you need the photography in order to create the flyers and the postcards and all that good stuff. Signage, text writer, coming soon writers, and creating an open house. So those are the kind of the basics, if you will. That's the marketing mix right there. What we do with all that stuff is the secondary things. So with the photography, we might be doing some staging. We might also be doing some virtual staging. A few of our agents have been very, very successful with taking empty houses or even houses that are way too cluttered and creating some really good looking staged photos. So that's super cool. We can put that into all of our different marketing that we're going to do. So then we're going to want to do a pre-listing, blast. And so we can do that on social media. Is super easy to do that. You could even boost your posts. You can boost your Facebook or Instagram posts and expand the reach of, who's going to see that. And of course, you want to do it in the area of the property that's in question. Then you're going to upload that property to the MLS. And with the agent marketing system, of course, the single property website will be created automatically for you within about 12 hours. Sometimes it's less. So being able to have that single property website and the flyers created for you automatically, it's a really, really cool feature that agent marketing comes with. So if you're not on our program too, and you'd like more information, you can contact me anytime, of course. So that single property website is then what we will use to create a Facebook and Instagram, or mostly a Facebook post that we will boost, and we will run that ad for a month. Solid. And again, you don't have to set a giant budget, but at least that is getting out there. That's something that you're telling your seller, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to get this out into the community. So we've got a couple of comments in the chat. Yes, Albert says, I suggest we hire a pro. Absolutely, don't take photos with your mobile. I agree. Rhonda agrees as well. Absolutely. Because again, it's not just that listing. Don't treat that listing as, oh, I'm putting in this amount of money and I expect ROI off of that one listing. The ROI can also be shifted and can take into consideration future properties that you sell. So great point. And then Anthony Perry says, yes, he's asking about, would you talk about this stuff with in your listing presentation with the seller? Absolutely. So 100%, this is what you're going to be using to, sell yourself and sell your services when you're doing the listing presentation. So absolutely, Anthony, creating all this collateral is what you're going to use when you go into another listing presentation. And if you've never, if you don't have any of these pieces and these materials, the agent marketing allows us to create the materials so we can show examples. So very, very good point. So the next step, and it's kind of concurrent, is flyers need to be mailed to the farm area. And it's a great idea to, of course, when you have when you get a listing, and especially if it's in your farm, you need to contact the title company. You need to get a report of who owns what properties in the area. And you need to make sure that every single owner in that area, especially in like a small, community or a little development, if they all get a flyer from you showing, hey, I'm marketing this property of your neighbors, that's super key. Then you need to walk the neighborhood. Once that's been distributed, then you need to walk the neighborhood and introduce yourself to those homeowner neighbors. You don't have to go to everybody that's renting a house, but you'll know from the report which people own the homes. And in many cases, you'll see that if it's a, owner occupied, right? So if you know that property is owner occupied, then you're going to want to make sure that you introduce yourself to that person, right? Or at least drop off a little flyer, maybe a little succulent plant that costs you, 17 cents, for the pot, and you make yourself a bunch of little succulent plants and you drop off that, So then you walk the neighborhood, invite them to the open house. It's a reason to knock on a door. Hey, we're having an open house this weekend. Come on over and check out what your neighbor's doing, what's being sold for. It'll give you a good idea of what your home's worth, right? By the way, if you need, I can prepare a CMA for you, right? You just open up this whole door of being able to, communicate with this homeowner. There's nothing else substitutes it. And now that, the COVID restrictions are lifted, we can go ahead and go back to these techniques. So we're going to invite those people to our open house. Then we're going to, email, and this is all kind of concurrent. These, basically 4 down through 8 and 9. We're going to walk the neighborhood. We're going to then email that single property website to people in the sphere of influence. This goes back to your, your CRM, making sure everybody in your sphere of influence knows that this is being sold. This is what you're doing. Then you're going to have the open house. You're going to do the brokers open. You're going to network with agents in your area. You're going to make sure that you even call agents that and let them know that this is now available, right? So all these things are going on at once. Then you're going to, of course, once the open house is done, you want to do some posts about that property and add some remarks about what the neighbors thought. Take some notes, ask people what they think, and then you can literally use those little, you don't have to say the person's name, but you can say, a neighbor said blah blah blah. I said this, had this to say about this home. So you're just creating this buzz about this home. You're creating, a story about the home, right? And so all of these things, they really do come from and they stem from all of, first of all, the photography, and then all of the things in our agent marketing. So let's switch gears and take a look at that. So, and I had intended to have Crystal join us today, but she is way too busy. But next week, I think she is going to be able to join us. And, we're starting a series on agents that have used the agent marketing system, have used the Alta Realty Group techniques, and has been successful with them. So we are going to be bringing Crystal on next week, and she's going to tell us how she does it. So this is her agent marketing system. Here is her most recent single property website. So of course, each single property website has its own URL. And so we use this URL in all of our marketing. Now notice, this is a home in Marietta, priced at $674,000. And she's treating this like it's a $3 million home, right? She's got her gallery. She spent the money on beautiful imagery. She has the drone footage. It shows exactly, look at that. That's just stunning. So she's really, and this is not taken from an iPhone. You can tell. This is a staged photo. So she's using, and you don't have to get, every single photo staged, right? You can just pick certain ones and make sure that you are at least making a real good depiction of, the living room and a few of the things that are really, really important. So, don't think that you need to, spend money enhancing every single picture, right? So it looks like Bill is back. Bill, you have any comments so far?
Yeah, she's done a good job here, and apologize for the reception. I don't know, sometimes it's goofy, but
for sure.
Yeah, I don't be the iPhone agent. It's not a good look. It doesn't translate through the MLS. At this point where we need as many people through the properties as possible, you need to get as many eyes on it as you can. And, if the pictures look crummy, if you got the toilet seat up, you don't have the lights turned on, you know, prepare the home for the way it should be, in like you said, enhanced, and put it in its best light.
Yeah, and a pro, they already know all that stuff. You don't even have to know any of that stuff. You just say, hey, pro, handle it, and they do. 100%, right?
Well, Kano Q, and those people that have known me for years know that I when I first got on the business, I started with a friend of Kevin and I's, childhood friend that was a few years older than I was, and he was an exceptional sales guy. He was top producer for Prudential before it turned into Berkshire Hathaway. And one of the first things he told me, he's like, when you're showing the home, you're there with the photographer, make sure the toilet seats are closed. And so that's always stuck with me, and like, it's an eyesore. And I see all these pictures of, I'm looking through imagery, and I see someone who actually left the toilet seat up, and like, it's such a turn off for me. I was just like, oh my gosh, like, that's just rookie. It's a rookie maneuver. And you make sure those little things and the lights are on, and all the stuff that you don't use, don't use iPhone imagery, even as far as it's come. There's nothing's going to replace a professional job.
Right. And, we've all been lucky to get a couple, nice shots with an iPhone. You can get lucky, but, having this, having a professional, because they'll go back in and they'll touch things up with Photoshop, which is really key. It's something that you and I wouldn't do. I don't know Photoshop very well, so I'm not going to spend the time to go in and figure out how to make it look how you can see outside. If you took a picture with your iPhone, you're not going to be able to see that there's like a nice outside. It's going to get all blurry and weird, and it just doesn't look good, right? This looks pro. So very, very cool.
Kevin, another thing I like to do with some of you may or may not do this. I like to give these images to the client. If they, at least I ask them, hey, would you like a couple of these, or all to have and for your memories, show your family members, or if they want to maybe just see and have some really nice images of the home they lived in before they moved on. And a lot of times they love that.
That's a great point. And then in the chat, Mercedes asks, she says, isn't this misleading to potential buyers? And I think she's talking about, doing staging or doing virtual staging. And I don't think so. As long as, it's not like you're, planning to sell the property with the furniture, that would be misleading if it's like, oh, we're selling everything, with the furniture, and you're doing, virtual staging with furniture that doesn't exist. Of course, that would be misleading, but I don't think that it is a misleading representation. You may disagree, but I think it's just you're putting your best foot forward. You're making that property, if anything, you're allowing, if it's an empty house, you're helping the potential buyer to envision what they might do. Do you agree with that, Bill?
100%. So that's the whole point of staging, especially in sometimes in tougher markets like we could be entering here. If you have a vacant home, the staging is which allows prospective buyers to get an idea of what can be done with the space, right? Where their furniture would go, how they would, decorate, give them ideas on furnishings and where they would, or if they're, buying new furniture. So, it's just to give people an idea of space, space management and putting things where they should probably be, the way the house flows. And I think it's a really good asset, especially on a vacant home.
For sure. No, I think it's, it's just, it helps the potential buyer. So, of course, when the single property website is created, the brochure is also created. So this is what her brochure looks like. Of course, these are customizable, but this is a really good brochure template because it does allow for 3 different other, images. Some of the brochure templates just have one image. So this is a really nice, quick brochure that can be, sent out to anybody. So the other thing I want to show you guys is, not seeing enough people do this, is to create that sign writer with our text sign writers. So this is a super easy step, but everybody has the ability, who's on program 2, to create these nice sign writers that go on top of or below your for sale sign. So in Crystal's case, she has a text writer that says, text the word Crystal Sells to 79564 for all of the home details. And so what happens is somebody will text that as they're driving by, and automatically a text will be sent right back to them with this link to her single property website. So that they can see all the information. She can collect their information, because anybody that does that little text will end up in Crystal's client area in her CRM. So, and you'll know where they came from, because it'll have that little code right here. So this person was driving by on 6/10 and put in the code. And so that's how we captured that person. And same thing for these. So that's a really easy way. And again, in going into this, tougher market, easy way to impress your sellers and to do lead collection from your for sale sign. So along those same lines, we do have the ability to create dynamic QR codes. And so same thing here. We have a few agents that are now embracing creating a QR code sign writer that does the same thing. I know John Espinosa and Jennifer Espinosa have embraced this. So they've created about an 8x8 or a 10x10 physical sign writer that hangs off of their for sale sign. And so it's kind of it's provocative, right? You're like, what the heck's that? Or you could put text underneath that does say, scan the code for the property information. So a lot of different things that you can do. Then, of course, once that property sells and you want to use this same sign writer or this same QR code again, all we have to do is go in here, edit this, and put in the new property URL, which is always created when we create the single property website. So those two things I really want to see our agents embracing. Of course, they are two-pronged. You're impressing your seller and you're doing lead collection, or lead collection into your CRM. And now we're able to communicate with these people on a weekly basis, monthly basis, however we deem is necessary. So really, really important to get those two things established. And that is basically, those are the most important parts of the marketing mix. And then we're using the single property website and the flyers to do all the other stuff that we do. So all the other stuff that we do is the posting to Facebook, the mailing that flyer out to the farm area, walking the neighborhood, handing the flyers out. All of those things are created with that marketing mix. So if you're just doing these things right here on this little sheet, you're going to be successful. You're going to be more successful than the realtor down the street that's not doing all these things, right? And so now it's your time to shine. It's getting tougher and tougher. You have to win now. You can't just say, oh yeah, I'll be able to sell it. You have to be able to, with confidence in your listing presentations, say, this is the stuff that we do. This is the tactics that we employ, and this is why we're successful. And it's very powerful. So Bill, any takeaways from today's perfect listing marketing mix presentation?
Yeah, I just want to, before I cut out earlier, I just wanted to run through about 5 quick little points on the shifting market. I just think these are helpful things.
Absolutely.
And so number one, I'll just go this really quick. Sellers on the fence, I think you reach out to them now and say, you should list now. We're in a shifting market. Now's the time if you want to try to keep your record equity, before things potentially get more difficult. It's important to know the data. Mortgage applications are at a 31-year low. Interest rates are rising. So, know these key data points so you can educate your sellers. Now is the time for action. Let's get it on the market. Let's do some of these things that you're talking about, and let's get the property sold. This next one is a big one. Number 2, pricing the home correctly. If you don't educate your seller and you let them kind of dictate to you what they think where the market is at this point, but you're the expert, you're the one in the trenches, you're the one that's following the data. If you price the home wrong, you're going to spend a ton of extra time, a ton of extra energy trying to get it sold, and you're going to work backwards. You're going to start doing price reductions. You're going to start having to do other things. Price it to sell it so you don't have to do all this extra stuff. And you may have to do it anyways, but I've seen it time and time again where the property's listed 80,000, 75,000, 100,000 over where it should be for the market conditions of today, and it doesn't get sold, or you're looking at month after month after month of putting in the hard work, and seller gets tired, you're getting tired. Well, guess what? The next listing agent comes in after you've done all this work, and they finally get the seller to reduce the price. So knowing your data and knowing exactly what's going on is the most important thing, so you can educate your seller and not work backwards. Making sure, this is number 3, making sure the offer that you receive with the interest rate, if there is an interest rate, hopefully there is, good agents are going to put something on that page 1 of the offer sheet. Make sure it matches the pre-approval, because with increasing rates, or the DU, hopefully they have a DU. It's a better instrument. It's an automated underwriting of the file. Make sure it matches. If it doesn't match and interest rates are a point higher than what it says, they might not qualify. So that's we've been harping on this for the last 6-12 months about making sure that the buyers are qualified, especially in a multiple offer environment. Well, it's almost even more important now, because you don't have maybe another offer to go off of. You might only get that one good offer, but maybe they don't qualify. So how can you make that offer work, or is there a solution if it's tight or whatever, right? So that's a super important point. At some point, these multiple offers in some of these areas are going to be gone if they're not already gone. So, you got to be mindful of that. It's not just, I'm going to get an offer next week. Well, you might not. And number 5 is, if you have buyers, now's the time to start telling them, hey, I think we're gonna see some deals. I think we're gonna be able to negotiate. I think we can maybe start asking for closing costs. We can start, it's shifting to the buyer's market, and there's going to be opportunities for some pretty good negotiating. So you're gonna have to shift gears in that aspect as well. But and I think maybe in the next week or two, Kevin, we should talk about price reductions and how to do that properly, because if you have to do it, how you should do it, when should I do it? A lot of people let it sit too long at the higher price and they miss the window. So that's a one that we can come back to, because I think that deserves its own thing, its own time.
No, that's its own beast.
Yeah. But it's just the things we want to start. I don't want everyone to this isn't a doom and gloom webinar. It's more of a, hey, let's just prepare. Let's get ahead of this.
Yeah.
So you can be successful. And to be honest, and I was telling Cameron this last night, I said, I actually have had one of my most successful years in this industry in a down market. So there's a lot of things that we can do if we can react to it. Maybe the things that you did the last couple of years are going to have to change. Maybe you're going to have to find, maybe some investors that are looking for things. Maybe you're going to have to, do something different. That you have to be open-minded. You got to be prepared. You got to, absorb some of this stuff, and hopefully it'll help you.
For sure. No, those are really good points, Bill. And maybe you could provide us with a couple of little bullet points that you spoke about, and I could include that in the replay with this perfect listing checklist as well.
Absolutely, no problem.
Oh, that'd be great. Okay, good. And then also, everybody, you probably noticed that you received a text message from Alta Realty Group reminding you about the webinar. And so I understand that the link did not work. I apologize for that. We'll get that fixed, but that is a new system. So, please put that phone number in your phone as a contact. So it's something that we're going to be using sparingly. We're not going to bug the heck out of you, but we do want to make sure that you guys are aware of the webinars and any other things that are really important. So I appreciate you guys not unsubscribing from that, and nobody has. So Bill, thank you very much for your insights. We appreciate that. And
of course,
we always enjoy you and Cameron coming on our webinars. And agents, thank you so much for being on the webinar. We really appreciate you guys taking the time as well. Get out there, have a great weekend, and we will see you guys next week on the webinar, hopefully with Crystal Burns. All right, adios, guys. Bye-bye.